There's 2 rinks at Rogers Place that we have access to, but one is only games, one we can practice on. And then there's 4 rinks at Terwillegar practice facility. There's 8 teams that can use Rogers Place, and there's 6 teams that can come out here to Terwillegar. There's 8 dressing rooms at Rogers, so you could be in one room in the morning and going to bed and being in another room, or you could be moving out to the practice rink. You know, you walk into Rogers Place to get to your dressing room and you pass 3 NHL hockey teams. It's a little bit weird because everyone's wearing masks, so you can't recognize people at first, but it's kind of neat.
Everybody that's in the traveling party for each team has an app downloaded to their phone, and it's a part of how we're doing the testing and the tracking. You fill out the questions on the app every day. You get your temperature taken before you leave the hotel. The app turns green, so you have to show your green app to somebody at the hotel before you're allowed out. You have to show it when you enter the arena. You have to show it when you go back in the hotel. And it refreshes every 12 hours, so you have to constantly do that. And we also have daily testing through a company at the rink. So there's lots of testing, lots of constantly monitoring everybody that's inside the bubble.
Well, we had to bring a lot of our own equipment, and we had some help from the Red Deer Rebels as well, bringing some equipment over because there's multiple teams here. As you know, there's 12 teams in the bubble. Unfortunately, there's a limited amount of space within the rink, and the NHL's done a pretty good job of supplying us with, you know, a couple of bikes and bars and different things like that. But in order to get a full team workout in, we've decided to bring all of our stuff. Every team is basically facing the same setup and the same type of adversity, but with our setup of bringing our things, we're allowed to keep this ballroom open 24 hours a day for our guys.
The structure of bubble routine is a lot different now because everything is so structured. There's 12 teams here, we're sharing facilities. You work out at this time, you work out at that time. When you come to Terwillegar, you have to be in a team ordered van for the trainers. Only 8 in a vehicle, so you have to plan what 8 are going, what time's it leaving, what time's the bus leaving. Then you throw testing in there, so you can't leave at this time because your testing time is at this time. So everything is dictated now by your ice time, your testing time, your travel time, whereas when we go on the road, we're gonna practice at 2 o'clock. We can go to the rink at 8 in the morning if we want, or we can go to the rink at noon. And so it's a lot different with the structure that's put in place.
Probably the biggest thing for us is because we're in a hub city, times are tight with all the teams that are here. We have a full setup at the hotel. We have a full medical room with everything we have back home. So we do treatment before and after ice times for guys that need it. That way we can get guys here, get them on the ice. Because the times are tight with guys coming and going and cleaning the rooms after. So that's made a big difference for us. So water bottles, each player has their own Gatorade bottle for the bench, water and actual Gatorade product. Each bottle is labeled specifically for that player, and after every ice time and every use, they get run through the dishwasher. So they're cleaned after every use, relabeled, refilled, and back on the bench. All towels are single use now. You'll see on the bench a guy will grab a towel, we'll give them a towel to wipe their face or their visor or whatever. So as soon as that player touches it, we toss it in the bin. The next towel we hand out's clean, and so we don't reuse any towels at all.
Well, on our off days when we don't practice, we have our team mobility session that we run. We're running our games late to begin with, so we're trying to provide them with information to make sure they get proper sleep and proper nutrition and hydration within this bubble. And I think they've been doing a pretty good job of that. We have to approach this as not as an 8:30 game Edmonton time, but as a 7:30 game Pacific time, which is completely doable with your mindset. So I think all the players have kind of adapted to that over the time.
So an example for today, we start at the practice rink. We have to be out of our room. Chicago's playing Edmonton right now. Chicago will move into our room at the practice rink. We'll leave our stuff on the truck until the Calgary-Winnipeg game's over. And when Calgary's room is emptied, we get to move in, where it gets a little bit different as to normal life or past life. Is we have to wait for the room to be disinfected, cleaned out, cleared, and we need to all clear before we can move in. So that adds a little more time to our day. It's a challenge, but I totally understand it and I totally appreciate the process. And it's nothing that we're not used to. We're used to moving into rooms after basketball games on the road if a basketball team's in there, or hockey games. The time they've given us is 11:30 that the room will be available, but that time has a big asterisk beside it because that means no games going to overtime. That means the Calgary Flames are out of the room as quick as possible, which there's many factors that could come into play with that. So 11:30 is kind of the time when we will be back at the rink, but whether we can actually start moving in. Tomorrow morning we have a 10:30 skate, so we have no choice. Like, we have to go back tonight, get the gear dry. It takes us about an hour, hour and a half, depending on where we are and the load in.
For the players, it's being able to get outside and be social. I think those were a couple of hurdles that they've been facing since the end of June, missing their families. That aspect of things can definitely wear on you. Not having the availability of the food that they're used to, going to different restaurants, so that can be a little bit of a challenge, but being able to order in food has taken that as a solution, but I think more the social aspect is tougher on players.
Things that everybody's focusing on: physical distancing, wearing a mask. Those are things that don't change regardless of whether we're in a bubble or whether we're at home. We focus on those things: wash your hands, just the common sense things that I think work for everybody still apply even though we're in a bubble.